Okay.
Welcome to Jets Rewind. This is Marty Shupak, and I'm joined by Ray Clifford, who's in somewhere in, I think, California now.
Eagle Rock.
Eagle Rock, California, and Ralph's in Belmont, Mass. I'm in Valley.
No, actually, I'm in Southie, home of the great Whitey Bulger.
There we go, South Boston. And I'm in the Valley Cottage, New York, in our home studios. It's Sunday, August 22nd, and a shout out, happy birthday to Howard Shupak, and maybe Harvey Gross too. But anyway.
Are they the same birthday?
I think they are. Okay.
Oh my God.
Jets just came off a victory, and as we all know, the wins and losses in August mean nothing. We're going to get right into the game. Ralph, you have a classic trivia. Let's start with that.
Yeah, it's going to be a Jet Green Bay trivia. All right, since 1992, the Packers have had two starting quarterbacks. How many have the Jets had? And I'm being very liberal, not counting some guys like Jeff Blake or Rick Meyer.
One start doesn't cut it.
Well, what I actually did was I picked every year the guy who had the. It had to be a guy who had the most starts in a particular season to count.
So Luke Falk wouldn't count.
No, he wouldn't count, but.
Okay, I'm putting down a number now. All right. Okay.
Oh, and the other part to the question, excuse me, is who 29 years with two quarterbacks. Who was the quarterback before Brett Favre took over the Packers?
Oh, before he took over the Packers?
Yeah.
That I'm going to leave for Ray. I have no idea who it was. Bart Starr. All right. Hey, listen. It was really a lot of fun. Part of that game. Offense, just watching Zach Wilson, you cannot, if you're a Jet fan, you cannot feel more positive. I don't care if it was against a second team or a third team. You saw him doing things that we want to see that we haven't seen in years. And I was ecstatic the way he played. The defense we're going to get to, they were horrific. I just like a rapid response from each of you. Ralph, why don't you go?
Yeah, as far as Wilson goes, I've been on this guy for January. I think he's going to be great, and he's done nothing to change my mind. The defense, watching the defense, it kind of reminded me of that game at Buffalo years ago when Marshawn Lynch was carrying about 8 guys, 5 yards. They didn't come with any intensity. I don't know what it was, whether it was the 2 practices or whether it was the Lawson injury that sort of bummed them out. I can tell you from my point of view, I did nothing Jets for 24 hours if that Lawson thing. I was so depressed by it. So I don't know what the effect. The guy's a leader for them too. He's not just a good player. So I don't know, but they have to pick up the intensity.
Ray, your thoughts on Zach?
I thought he looked great, but I'm just one of those guys. I've been through so much of this with the Jets and preseasons that, I'll hold off getting excited till it starts happening when they count. But he did a lot of things that was really not just impressive, but gave me a little bit of hope that maybe we've really found the one, which is mainly he seems very composed under pressure, which I like. He seems to make good decisions under pressure from what I've seen. And he's been under pressure. They haven't protected him, perfectly. He's had his moments where he's had guys right in his face, and he's still hung in there and made, even if it wasn't the perfect throw, he made the right decision on where he was going with it. So I like what I see. I'd like to just, and we aren't going to see it till the season starts, but I'd like to see him start expanding what he's doing and maybe a little more rolling out and things like that, things where he's on the move, because he can throw so well on the move. I'd love to see him out of the pocket a little more.
Well, we're going to see that. And my favorite skill, Ray, right now is his quick release, because that quick release will give him an edge over other quarterbacks where he won't get sacked as much and he'll be able to get rid of the ball, throwing it out of bounds. Just, Ralph, just going back to you with that Buffalo game with Marshawn Lynch. If you remember, when we were young kids, there was a game called Johnny on the Pony.
Yeah.
Remember that? Ray, do you remember that game? Well, it was a game.
That's a
where
little before my time, I think.
you jump on his back, and Ralph. But my recollection of that is seeing Marshawn Lynch carry Kerry Rhodes all over the field, like up and down the
He
field.
carried
he's
more
still
than Kerry
there.
Rhodes. And when he was down at the 5-yard, he carried about 8 Jets.
It was unbelievable.
You know, but it would make me
Did that
feel a
to a
little
lot of
better
them.
to see that his whole career he was doing that to a lot of other
Yeah.
people.
He
So,
did that to New Orleans in the playoffs, so I'm not feeling totally bad.
Just nothing. All right. The Jets and Packers, I guess it was what, 23-14, which really doesn't matter.
yeah, it was our field goal kicker who won the game.
Yeah.
But let's do our weekly studs and duds that we do in the exhibition or preseason, and then we'll move on. We're going to see if we can do this in the regular season. So I'm going to have Ray start, Ray. I'm going to put some pressure on you because Ray was in the car part of the first quarter, Ralph.
Yeah.
But then
I
he
did
caught
end
up.
up seeing a replay of the stuff, so I'm good. But I'm going to leave the obvious ones to you guys. I'm going to go with other than Amendola, who Ralph just mentioned, I thought was a stud. That 50, he was straight. They weren't moving left or right. It was, I mean, he was hitting them a mile, and they just barely inside the goalpost on 2 of them. But Amendola, Michael Carter, the running back, I thought really had a good game, and Kroft obviously was after the drops he had in practice and in the game, that I thought he had a really good game.
Yeah, those are good choices. And what's interesting about Kroft, he only had 2 receptions, and both of them were for touchdowns.
Yeah, they were good catches though. They were good catches and good moves.
Yes, and he looked like he really had a nose for the end zone on one of those. Okay, Ralph, you go.
Okay, I'm going to start. I'll do a couple of obscure ones. This kid, JT Hassel, he made some really nice plays. Now that Zane Lewis is out, I don't know. Maybe this guy has an opening, but he looks like I really like how active he was, and he hit. And the other one, I'm going to say George Fant. I watched every one of his blocks when Zach threw on replay, and he had a really solid game. I think he's playing better this year, which is going to be needed because who knows what's going on with Morgan Moses. And the third one, I'm going to sort of go outside the box, and I'm going to say Michael LaFleur, because like you were just saying, Marty, you want to see him open up. I think this is the way to do it. Start him gradually, get him doing the basics correctly, and he's got the discipline. He wants to do that. I've watched the other rookie quarterbacks, and you look at a guy like Justin Fields, he's all over the place. I don't think Matt Nagy's doing a good job at all. Now, they're not getting as good a pass blocking, but I really like LaFleur's play calling so far.
Yeah, so far he's doing really good. And Ralph, just so you know, I don't know, on Jets Rewind, I just put up an article this morning. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance.
But I mentioned JT Hassel, and he was up and down. 2 things. He was the guy last year who blocked the punt against the Rams. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Also, what I wrote is that I really want him to make the team because he was born with only 2 fingers on his left hand. So this guy is, people like that, I really have a heart for. I really love the way he played, Ralph. He really hit home with me, too. I really hope he makes the squad this year, too. All right, here are my choices. For the second week in a row, I've been on him all year, I'm taking Mekhi Becton. I thought he didn't play as well as last week, but I think he was steady. He was very good in the runs. He was good on the pass. And I think he's getting good repetitions. The next one, I'm going to pick Braxton Berrios. Not so much for his catches, but I keep an eye on him. He goes 100% on every play, whether it's a pass or a run. And whenever it's a pass play to him, he lays out his body like crazy. I hate to say it. I mean, I don't like to use comparators, but he reminds me of like a poor man's Julian Edelman. He really does, the type of player he is. And the third player, I'm going to surprise you, Ralph, because I thought he was very active, and we're going to have to count on him. Blake Cashman at linebacker.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He looked good.
Yeah,
If he can stay on the field, maybe we got something from him.
he showed me a lot of
Yeah.
athleticism. He really did. And I've been hearing for a couple of years he has a lot of athleticism. 2 years ago, I remember Tom Brady with the Patriots was picking on him on every play. So I was wondering where this athleticism came about. But he has a history of bad shoulders. Hopefully that's straightened out. I don't know what's going on with Jared Davis. I had heard unconfirmed that the injury is not that bad. I
Yeah.
heard the McDermott injury is. So again, this is not confirmed, but they're still going to need Blake Cashman. I'm going to start on the duds, okay? Number one on my list is Dan Feeney. I don't know why they signed this guy from the Chargers, LA Chargers. He was terrible last year. He was so bad, and Ray, he missed the block on one of those 3rd and 1s. He was so bad that they put their backup center Murray in on left guard, and he didn't do that bad. But Dan Feeney,
He had a bad one.
he doesn't provide any depth to this team at all. I can't stand the guy. The second player, and I hate to do this because he had an interception, but I'm going to say Lamar Jackson, just because it was like a 3rd down play, like a 3rd and 8, and he did it, the dumbest pass interference. Like this guy always does the stupidest things, and the Packers ended up getting a 1st down. So he's my second choice. And my third choice, surprise, is a guy I really like, but you really could have taken almost anyone on the front 4 or front 7 of defense. I took John Franklin Myers. He looked kind of lost to me the whole game, and he didn't show me anything. So those are my 3: Dan Feeney, Lamar Jackson, and John Franklin Myers. Ralph, why don't you go next?
Well, I'm going to go with the the middle of the offensive line. I'm just so tired of seeing them getting stuffed on every 3rd and 1. It's a problem. I mean, obviously they're going to try different things during the season, but you'd like to think that they can get a yard occasionally. That's and even when Murray came in, he whiffed on one pass block too. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, of course, is my whipping boy. I see his number. I know by heart because you can always see him chasing someone. I'm going to go with a guy I have high hopes for. I don't think he had a good game. Was Isaiah Dunn? He had a couple of really bad plays. And my third one is, either of the backup quarterbacks. I mean, Wilson looks so polished and so sharp, and these guys just, I guess there's a reason why he was number 2 and these guys were late round picks. But I don't see much of a future in either of them.
It's a huge problem. And Ralph, while we're just on the subject, I just want to ask you and Ray quickly, the defensive back Echols, what's your opinion on him?
I've liked both games that he's played. I think he's going to be a Jet for a while myself. What do you think, Ray?
I think he shows a lot of promise. So, I think if he continues to develop, he could be really good, actually. I think he could be a solid guy for us for a while. I mean, he's got to improve, but I think he shows signs that he can. He's seems to have good instincts, and I think he's made plays so far, so I can't see him getting rid of him. That's for sure.
Bless Austin was not at the game. He was away from Bless Austin for personal reasons. And where did Echols go to school again?
Kentucky.
He went to Kentucky. Okay. All right. Look, we had a devastating injury this week. I don't want to make light of it and say Jet fans are used to it, but it just seems it happens every few years. Ray, why don't you give your thoughts on the Lawson injury? I think you found out about it when I texted you.
Yeah. This is why I hate the preseason. It's the one thing two things I pay attention to. I always say is, does anybody look really bad, and does anybody get hurt? And God, I don't know if any team's as cursed as the Jets when it comes to big preseason injuries. I mean, overall, everybody has them from time to time in years, but it seems like, we can't go 2 years in a row without somebody huge getting hurt. Now, Quinnen Williams can make a difference, but that's not going to make up a difference on an edge rusher. So we're going to have to hope Vinny Curry or somebody, maybe Bryce Huff can make up.
Ronald Blair. What about Ronald Blair? Maybe.
Yeah. So anybody right now, I'm just like, that was so, because he looked so good. I was so excited for this defense because I thought that was going to change the whole look of our defense. If they could just have a guy get in there on a regular basis, not let these DBs get hung out to dry. And then sure enough, the one guy didn't want to get hurt is the one that got carted off. So,
well,
by the way, and I don't need to do all three duds, but my main dud that you guys didn't mention, Marcus May, I thought was a dud.
Oh yeah,
but,
he was.
Yeah, I've just never been a huge Marcus May guy. He just doesn't make big plays,
It's just, I thought our defense in general was pretty disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Considering who we make every backup quarterback look like he's ready for the Hall of Fame.
It's amazing how the Jets have let these drives go on when they have like 5 different shots to make one play to stop the drive. And it's like by the skin of their teeth, they're always doing. I remember a Chicago Monday night game, which drove me nuts. It was like they had about 14 plays. If any one of them, they would have closed them out and lost the game. It was I nearly jumped out a window that one.
Yeah. These arm tackles will drive me crazy. Ray, did I skip over you on the duds?
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, but I was more. I could have named a whole bunch of groups, but in general, I didn't think they played horrible. I just couldn't understand how they couldn't stop a third string quarterback who had barely played, and he went in there looking like some team might trade for him after that game.
Yeah.
I will give my thoughts before Ralph. I won't forget about you, Ralph. Carl Lawson was given a dimension that we really haven't seen since John Abraham was there, where the offensive coordinator would really have to think about how they're going to run their offense, depending upon where he lines up. And besides the injury and what it means to the Jets, this is a real good kid that really took his craft seriously, and he worked incredibly hard, and he was in great shape. And he really gave an inspiring speech to the Jets, I think it was yesterday, about how they have to continue on, that the season doesn't start here. Really like a team player. And as Ralph said, he's a leader. So it's going to be a devastating loss both on the field and off the field. Ralph?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And, while I feel, I'm not one of these Jet fans who thinks everything happens to us. I mean, Tevin Jenkins and Rashad Bateman, 2 guys we could have easily drafted, both are getting operations. So, it happens to everyone. Remember last year when San Francisco came into the Meadowlands and their whole team got destroyed, that's the painful part of football. You have to live with it, but I feel sorry for us, and the Jets, but I really feel sorry for him because that guy works so hard. He's so enthusiastic. That must be brutal. I mean, he's putting on a happy face, and saying that it's just a flesh wound, but it's like a prime year out of the guy's life. It's very tough.
Really is. Ray, what did you want to add?
No, I was just going to say he's had injury issues all along. Now, the Achilles is a tough one to come back from, but if anything he's shown is he'll put in the work to get back to be as close to 100% as he can. So that part of it, I feel like we'll see him next year. We'll just see how he looks. But he's dealt with injuries before, and he's always really worked hard to get back. So I have no doubt he's not gonna lay down for this. He's gonna try and come back and prove that he's just how he was this year.
I want to ask you, while we're on that, what percentage do you think we'll see of the real Carl Lawson if he comes back from the injury? 70, 80, 90%? Ralph?
I think it'll be a year-by-year thing. I think the first year it won't be 100% because when you think about what he actually physically has to do, pushing these 300-pound guys, I mean, that's a lot of stress on that ankle. And of course, a lot of it's going to be a mental thing. He's pretty tough mentally, but I think, maybe the first year, 70%, maybe he gets close to 100% the second year.
Right.
I think he could be a little closer only because it happened so early. He's going to have a full year to rehab and everything. So he might be a little further along than, some of these guys who get hurt mid-year or late year. But it's an Achilles. And I never heard, was it a complete tear though, or was it a
I
partial
didn't
tear?
hear that.
I
The only
didn't hear
thing I
either.
hold out hope is that look at Kevin Durant, how he's come back.
Yes.
He has to miss the
That's-
beat.
That's true.
And those guys have to jump. So, maybe maybe it can happen.
Ralph, I agree with you that the first year it's probably less than the second year. It's not only physical; it could be more of a mental thing.
Sure.
Where he wants to do it, but subconsciously
His brain won't let him. Yeah,
his brain won't let
definitely.
him. So yeah. But while we're on that, and of course, as Jet fans, we always look at everything half empty. What are your thoughts on the most devastating Jet injury besides this that you experienced, Ralph?
Well, there were two for me, and I'm sure you're going to agree on the Vinny Testaverde. He had an Achilles too, and it's like you watched him, he banged the ground, he knew it, and boom, like that, season over, boom.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Ralph. What
You're
happened?
still here.
oh yeah, I'm bumping into things in the night.
Look what happened.
The other
I
one
give
for me goes
him
way back.
I critique him before we go on the air, and he's completely lost.
Yeah.
And now I got him to smile. Ralph, go back to your old self. It's better, but go ahead.
The other one was the 71 preseason. I was watching that game. Namath looked so good. He tries to tackle Lucci, a linebacker from the Lions. And when he gets up, he hops on that foot, and I almost threw up. It was like season over, boom.
Yeah.
Lawson's great, but he's not a quarterback, so the season's not over. But we're gonna miss him. I was really looking forward to watching him, just as a fan.
Ray?
Well, obviously Vinny's the number one for me, because after the year before, and we were geared up for this was going to be our run at the big game. I think the other one that disappointed me the most was the year Chad went down against the Giants and broke his hand or whatever he did, his wrist, his hand.
Wrist, yeah.
I mean, I didn't necessarily think we were like the year with Parcells making a run for it all, but I thought we could maybe get in there and make something happen. Who knew? But at that moment, I was like, all right, we aren't going anywhere. And then wasn't it the next year that he got hurt again, and then Fiedler came in for one series, and he got another one that won't be on the list of Jet quarterbacks, Jay Fiedler.
It's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Ralph, I put down, just like you did, I put down Mike Lucci. And I actually remember where I was. I was camping in upstate New York. We got up, me and three guys. We went I convinced him I can't miss this game. And we went to a bar to watch it.
You're a Jet fan.
Yeah, and I was devastated. And that, and also just listening to a lot of when I met Ray over the years, how paranoid he is as far as injuries. And he's kind of convinced me, especially after the Mark Sanchez in the preseason too. So
what about Avery Williamson? That was
a bad one too.
That was just one more reason to hate Gase, but
right. Playing those two guys in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I put three down. I put Vinny down too, like every Jet fan. That was our season, and he just slipped on the invisible Jet banana peel that nobody ever sees, tore his Achilles. But I also put something else with it wasn't awful, but I had pulled off, you'll like this, Ralph, the Massachusetts Turnpike, because I got one of these, I'm on these lists for get text messages, and I read Sam Darnold has mononucleosis. And it was it. And I say to myself, what the hell is going on? And literally it hit me like a lead balloon. Again, the injuries wasn't as bad as Namath or Vinny Testaverde. It's just the timing. I had just so high hopes. And what's funny is a lot of these injuries, everybody could tell you where they were when JFK was assassinated, us older people, or where they were when they heard the Twin Towers go down. Jet fans know exactly where they were, what they were doing when some of these major injuries occurred. It's just unbelievable. And it's just, I always tell my wife, the luck is just unbelievable of Jet fans. But anyway, we have to move on, guys. We have to think like there's always a better tomorrow. For years, I told my son, Jeffrey Shupak, who's the biggest Red Sox fan in the world, I always told him things will change. Don't worry, because I was a Yankee fan. He was brought up a Red Sox fan, and they did. And I'm hoping the same thing happens for the Jets. We have 2 scrimmages this week, and we have a game Friday night. It's a short week against the Philadelphia Eagles. Ralph, what's your opinion about playing the first stringers against the Eagles?
In the game or the scrimmages?
Both.
In the scrimmages, I think they're going to play them. In the game, I think he's going to give Wilson a couple of series, because you got to remember there's a week off. So if they don't play their regulars, it's going to be like 3 weeks they're going to be sitting around. And it's going to, Aaron Rodgers can do that because he can play in his sleep. But this is a young team, so I do think they're going to play them.
Ray, what's your take on it?
No, I think they'll play. Well, they'll definitely play him in the scrimmages. I can't imagine he'd hold him out of that. But I think he'll play them at least a series. I'm hoping 2 tops if they play him in the game. It's got to be even in the back of his mind that he can't risk more injury by playing him too long. But I think it does. I think they do need to get a little bit of work in, just because, it's a long week before the start. So, yeah, he'll play him.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think at least in the scrimmages, they're going to play him. I don't think he's going to play him in the game. And I was thinking, I started writing a new article. I put it in there. I think you're going to see the NFL, whether they go to 18 games or not, you're going to see them cut down on another preseason game.
I agree.
I think coaches love these scrimmages, and I'll tell you why. Number one, they love him because the quarterback wears the red jersey. So it's like they have some kind of control over possible injury. And number two, they're right on the field. And even though they hire referees, they could stop the play and have a teaching or coaching moment. So I predict sometime either a year or 2 years from now, they're going to cut down to 2 exhibition games. And they're going to have these scrimmages, 2-day scrimmages. Each team will have 2 of them. And,
just, the owners aren't going to do away with a game unless they add one, because they still charge full price for those tickets. So they aren't going to give away that money. So if they do that, I believe they'll go to 18 games.
I do too. And I think they should have 2 buys too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Ray, I'm not saying they're going to give it away. If they can work out something where they charge people to attend those 2 scrimmages, don't you think they will?
Not the level, not the price. I think they'll go with the regular season game.
Okay.
They'll get full price, and they'll get full TV money, and they'll get full whatever,
All right. Listen, I just want to, before we
I think they'll expand the roster too. If they
Yes.
They should do anyway, but I agree.
They got to do that anyway. It's nice when we're playing with other people's money,
Well, you know how much the Jets are valued at now? The Jets are valued at like $4 billion and not even close.
Yeah.
I know. All right, as we enter the 4th quarter, I just want to skip over the quarterbacks, which you guys saw and I didn't see. And Adam Schefter reported that the Jets already are making inquiries about getting another edge rusher. I mentioned to you 2 guys, the 2 of the names mentioned are Chandler Jones from the Cardinals. He's got 1 year left on the contract. Derek Barnett of the Eagles. The Eagles signed Ryan Kerrigan from Washington, and that's going to take away plays from Barnett, who's really not that old. And a 3rd name popped up this afternoon, Robert Quinn from the Bears, who had put up some good numbers. The only problem is he signed a 5-year, $70 million contract. So I just don't think that Joe Douglas, it's his type of a deal where he's going to even look into him. So I just want you guys' opinion. Do you think they're going to make a move for one of these guys or someone else? Ralph?
Well, Joe Douglas doesn't overpay, which makes me feel good. As far as Chandler Jones go, that would aggravate me on a certain level because he was picked about 3 spots after Quentin Coples, and I did not want to pick Quentin Coples. And I watched Chandler Jones instantly become a star up here in New England. You know, last year he didn't play much, but the year before he had like about 18 sacks.
19.
I think he still has. I'd take him for a year if the price was right. Well, what's the price? Would you give up a third? Would you give up a second? I'd give up a third for him.
Would you give up Crowder and a fourth for him?
Crowder and a fourth. Ooh, Crowder and a fifth, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Ray, your take.
Yeah, the other guys don't interest me. Chandler Jones, if the price is right. And like Ralph said, Joe doesn't really tend to overpay, so I'm not really necessarily worried about that. I don't know if I'd give up Crowder and very high of a draft pick at all for him. I mean, if they're getting Crowder, they're getting a guy who's still very productive too. So it would be closer to a 1-for-1 for me than some late round pick. Okay, but I don't think I'd give up a third with Crowder. That seems like we're giving up a lot. And, you know, I like Chandler Jones, but, you know, I don't know if he's just fallen off the table or if it was just an off year.
That's the risk. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know when he was with the Pats, he had a little bit of a head case out one year. I think his second year. I don't know what happened there. But as far as Crowder, I think he's only caught 1 pass in preseason. I don't think he's that much.
He's, you know, Wilson is depending so much on Davis, but I think that will change as he gets more comfortable.
This Derek Barnett from, I think the Eagles might be more interesting because Eagles might be interested in a guy like Crowder. So,
well, you know, Douglas knows him, obviously.
Yes.
You know, he was a very high pick and he hasn't really produced like where he was picked. But, you know, it's funny, he had about the same amount of sacks as Carl Lawson did last year.
Right.
The year before, he had about 7. So, you know, maybe they can get more out of him. I don't know that I'd give up anything more than maybe a fourth for him, but
right.
I'd take a shot at him for a fourth.
Yeah. All right, Ray, did you see the other quarterbacks?
Yeah, I did. I saw quite a bit of
I didn't see anything, so I'm going to turn this over to Ray and Ralph. Why don't you discuss what you saw in the other rookie quarterbacks, first round picks?
Well, as far as Justin Fields, I thought, like Ralph said, he was a bit all over the place. He had moments where he looked really good, and he had moments where he seemed like he was not sure what he was doing. I wasn't sure what he was doing on a couple of his throws. I thought he was trying to throw one away, but it looked like he tried to fit it into a guy on the sideline on one play, and he got lucky it didn't get picked off, and they were driving at the time. Then he had a nice running and a couple of other nice throws. He took a humongous cheap shot to the head, stayed in the game. Stayed in the game, and so he's a tough kid. He's just got to tighten up his game, and I think part of it might be Nagy. I think he's just trying to run too much by him too soon, and if they can tighten that up, I still think he'll be solid. Now, as far as Mac Jones, I'll say the same thing I said back at draft time. I thought New England was a perfect spot for him because of the type of offense they run, and they do the shorter passing thing, and they protect the QB. I thought he looked really, really good in that short passing offense. He looked in control. He didn't force anything. You know, he looked like if he isn't by mid-season, unless Cam's playing really well, I could see him being there for a while. And if they protect him, he's going to be tough.
Okay, Ralph, your take.
Yeah. So as far as Justin Fields, it's funny, his stats this week weren't as good as last week's, but I thought he looked better. Last week, I didn't really think he looked good, but he depends a little too much on his legs instinctively. I think Wilson is really making a concerted effort not to run and to learn how to be comfortable in the pocket. And I do blame the coaches. I think they gotta work with him more on that discipline. He's not getting protected that well. Whereas Mac Jones is getting the cleanest pockets by far of all the rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Alabama all over again.
Well, don't forget, he's just playing in the second half of games.
Right.
So he's playing against.
He isn't playing the starters.
But I like Ray. I thought he looked really good. He moves around in the pocket really well. He's very accurate. He can put a little zip on those medium range passes if he loads up. You know, he can't flick it like Zach can.
No.
But he can, when he loads up and takes his strides into it, he's accurate and he throws to the right people. And I think he's their keeper. I think he's going to be good. I do.
Okay,
This is painful to say, but
it is painful. All right.
Very painful.
I don't think we have time for the last one. I want to get back to the trivia question. Ralph, why don't you ask that trivia question again?
So the Packers since 1992 have had 2 starting quarterbacks, which is phenomenal. And the Jets, how many have they had in that same period of time?
Ray, you want to start?
Well, I was going through as far back as I could remember without, cheating and looking at who was our starter in 92. Do you have that one?
Yeah, it was Browning Nagel, the guy right after Favre.
So I was up past 12. I'm going to just do a flyer and say 16. Probably low.
I'm going to say lucky number 13 for Dan Marino.
Well, I mean, I even didn't even count a couple guys like Jeff Blake or Rick Meyer, but I came up with about 15.
15, okay.
Nagel, Boomer, Frank Reich, O'Donnell, Vinny, Lucas, Chad, Bollinger, who started 9 games one year. Favre, Sanchez, Geno Fitz, McCowan. He was our quarterback one year, our starter.
I forgot about him.
Darnold and Wilson. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's more unbelievable what the Packers have done. It really is amazing.
Yeah, and we're going to close this out. But again, I have a little paranoia about the offensive line. To me, it's the most important part of an NFL team, especially now when you have a franchise quarterback, which I think we have. And I don't want to see that guy in there, Dan Feeney, because I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, one quick question before we wrap it up. Did anybody have any update on Moore? Is he going to be playing this game, or is he going to hold him out till?
You know what? At this point, I don't care what they do with him. It's I'm in no rush to bring him back.
Ray, it's interesting. And by the way, Ralph, we have, I think, 15 days from the Friday night exhibition game to opening game. But Ray, it's interesting. This shows you why you can't believe everything you read on the internet. Somebody reported that Rich Cimini said that Elijah Moore was going to play against the Packers. He wasn't even suited up. And I think I texted you. You can't believe anything unless it's from the person itself. It's just unbelievable.
By the way, one quick thing. The guy who was quarterbacking before Favre was Don Magic Makowski.
I was going to guess that too.
That's right.
Yeah, they talked about him.
Last night they talked about him.
I was
right.
That was.
And they had high hopes for him too.
They did.
Magic man.
All right, we're going to close this out for Ralph Schrager, Ray Clifford, and Marty Shupak, and Jets Rewind. Hey, listen, check out our site. And if you like what you hear on the podcast, please give us a 5-star review. It doesn't take you a lot of time, and it helps us out. We want to keep this going throughout this season and following seasons. So until next time, this has been Jets Rewind.